Today I'm turning myself into a goth. Goth is a whole subculture that started in the UK's post-punk scene in the late 70s and early 80s. And nowadays there's a whole bunch of different goth substyles like cyber goth, mall goth, and even romantic goth. But today we're trying Trad Goth, which is one of the most iconic and intense versions of this style. Let's see if I can pull this off. Starting off with eyebrows. So I've just got this Elmer's glue stick here, and everyone seems to say that you're supposed to lick it first, so that's what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna go across my eyebrows. So this is also something that's new to me. I've never really done this in my life. I know there's a lot of like drag queens that do this, and this is one of my first times ever doing this. So if I mess up, I really don't know how I'm gonna pull this together. Okay, now that I've cleaned everything up, my eyebrows feel very singed. Like I feel like I've gotten a facelift or something. But at least we can actually draw on our eyebrows now. And for that, a lot of Trad Goth eyebrows seem to be very abstract. They're very sharp, almost triangular, and they're very bold. And obviously in the 80s when goth first came about, makeup was just very creative, super colorful, and people were just experimenting with all sorts of different things. If you have a look at Susie Sue and her makeup during that time, you can see where they get these sort of triangular brows from. And back then, there was no such thing as ombre brows either, so I'm just going in with straight up eyeliner. Now before I move on to eyeshadow, the one thing that I want to quickly try and do is add a little symbol. I don't really know what to call it. I don't think there's an official name for it, but in more recent sort of iterations of Trad Goth makeup, a lot of people draw on something in the middle of their eyebrows here or just on their forehead. Sometimes it might be a cross, sometimes it might be an ankh, or maybe even a bat. People just like to get creative with it. Now, actually, these sorts of forehead symbols weren't really a thing during the 1980s era of Trad Goth, but they've become such a big part of the look nowadays that it felt wrong to just skip over it. But now we're gonna go into eyeshadow. Now the thing is with a lot of Trad Goth makeup looks, they're very monochromatic. They've not really got any sort of color in them. It's just basically black and white. And with that, the eyeshadow itself is pretty simplistic. It might be a smoky eye, it might be a cut crease with some black and white in there. But the biggest thing that ties it all together is eyeliner. As you guys might be able to tell, goths don't just use this liner on their eyes. They basically find a way to work it into everything. But no matter where it is, if you can't really see it, you've not put enough on. I've seen so many people do all sorts of different designs like cobwebs, bat wings, and really intricate line work coming down onto the cheeks. So there's so many different ways you can play around with this, and honestly, because it's meant to be so dramatic, it's actually pretty hard to mess up. And if you do, you can just keep packing stuff on, smudge it out, and it still looks goth. So this eyeliner isn't actually done yet. Once I pop on some foundation, I'm gonna add even more. But this is just looking very demure at the moment. What I'm gonna do now is clean up my face. I'm gonna clean up a lot of these lines and also take away some extra product. So that way we can pop on some primer and get into foundation. Now foundation is probably the biggest thing people think about when it comes to goth makeup. A lot of the other styles like romantic or cyber goth have pretty pale skin, but Trad Goth in particular is basically straight up white. Back in the 70s and 80s, having tanned and glowy skin was what was seen as healthy or beautiful. So goths chose to rebel against that. They skipped over fake tans, stopped using bronzers, and started to embrace more of the nocturnal nightlife. And a lot of it also comes down to what inspired goth in the first place. If you have a look at some of the classic horror and black and white movies of the time, most of the main characters like Nosferatu or Elvira were ghostly pale with really dark features. So that naturally ended up becoming part of the look. At the end of the day though, that doesn't mean you have to wear white foundation, and it also doesn't mean you have to be pale to be goth either. So now I need to mattify my face, and I think I'm gonna go in with some baking powder. I don't have a palette that's black and white, which looking back now is really stupid of me, but I need to at least dry this down because right now the consistency on my skin is super oily and creamy, and I hate it. So I need to fix that. The smell of this powder is also amazing, but then it sometimes gets in my eyes and it really hurts. So I guess that's a bit of a downside. I really wonder how long it actually takes these goths to get ready, because even usually for me it takes me 3 hours to do normal makeup. And something like this, with the amount of detail that goes into it, I don't know how they do it. It's literally like they've got some spiritual powers going on, and maybe they do, but I definitely don't. So I've mattified some bits and pieces, but I want to add some more pigmentation around the borders on my face and contour my face a bit. So we're going to do that with some eyeshadow. This is just the same eyeshadow palette we use for our eyes, and it's got the perfect sort of shades we want to use. Contouring as a whole isn't necessarily a big thing when it comes to this sort of style, and if it is seen anywhere, it's very gray and very cool. It's not really supposed to serve the same sort of purpose that normal makeup does, but it's more so about making the face look hollow and gaunt. So as I'm contouring my nose, there's a very important thing that I'm trying to do. Just below the corner of my nose is some darker eyeshadow, and I'm trying to bring that all along the sides of my nose and also underneath it as well. One other small detail that I've noticed people do is they take a darker eyeshadow and they kind of point their nostrils, so it kind of looks triangular. There's some people that do it, some people that don't, but just for the sake of experimentation, we've got to do it. This already looks pretty good as it is, but we're gonna pop on some more eyeliner. Now I have seen a lot of goths curve their inner corners in this very round sort of circular way, but then I've also seen a lot of them do this double liner just below the eyes, which I kind of feel I prefer. It is very difficult trying to get them symmetrical, and I have messed up a little bit, so I want to try and cover up my wonky lines with something similar to like a bat's wings or maybe even a spider web. And these kind of resemble that. They are a little bit uneven, but that's alright. Next up, I want to go in with some highlighter just before we go in with our lips. And I want to really concentrate it on my nose just because I feel like it falls flat to everything else. But beyond that, I'm just trying to keep the highlighter very light and simple because it's not really too important for this style. So now that I look shiny, we can move on to lips. Lips are such an important thing when it comes to goth makeup, and they really make or break the look. I mean, I know this looks pretty gothic at the moment, but I think you guys will see what I mean when I actually pop them on. In some of the other goth styles, you'll usually see a lot of deep reds or even purple lipsticks being used, but in Trad Goth, they're pitch black. And not only that, they're also spiky. Instead of people following their natural lip lines, a lot of goths started to accentuate their cupid's bow into these little spikes. And now with our lips done, the fun part begins. Starting off with some lashes. These are just some random lashes I bought off of Wish, probably when I was about 17 or so, and I try and flatten them up against my eyeliner wing so that way they look a bit lifted. I know it does look a bit weird, and it honestly might not make much of a difference, but I feel like it makes them stay on just a bit longer. Now just with lashes popped on, this already looks a whole lot better, but I want to go in and give myself a few new piercings, and I actually have some new septum jewelry that I really want to try out specifically for this look. Now, I've always loved the look of stretched septums, and sure, they might not have been a thing when goths first came around, but it seems like a lot more goths are wearing them nowadays. And luckily, I did actually manage to buy myself one, but I haven't yet tried it out with makeup on. So this is gonna be interesting. I also want to go ahead and add a bridge piercing and maybe some dermals back onto my face because I missed mine. And then I'm just gonna pop in some of these little earrings that I have just to dress up my ears a bit more. But from here, we can pretty much just focus on clothing now. I have way too many black chokers that I've collected, and all I know is that I want something that matches this sort of spiky and uninviting vibe we've got going on, because I don't know, I kind of like looking mean. Now this already looks good, but there's something missing, and that's because of this. This is just a nice little wig that I got off of Temu, I think, and oh my god, it is so annoying to work with. For some odd reason, this thing just keeps slipping off my head, but after battling with it for a couple of minutes, I think I can finally say that this is a final look. I genuinely thought I was gonna mess this up, and even when it came to my eyebrows, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is already gonna be bad. But I honestly really like how all this came together. If you guys enjoyed this video or just want me to try out more makeup transformations like this, let me know in the comments. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!